You need to hear this before October 12th. We are entering the final days of an intense spiritual cycle, and this waning gibbous moon in Cancer did not appear by coincidence. God is calling the awakened to a new kind of leadership, and if you've made it here, it's because you have a fundamental role in this portal. But pay attention. If you ignore this message, you could miss a unique chance to align your mission with the heavens. Have you been feeling a strange emotional exhaustion? The urge to pull away from everything? This isn't just stress. These are symptoms of the energetic transition that has already begun. Let me explain everything, because what will happen in the coming days will change the way you lead, at work, in your relationships, and in your own life. In this video, you will understand why the chosen ones are being tested right now, and how to protect the emotional field of your team, your home, and even your own mind. You are not alone. This message appeared on your screen for a reason, and at the end, I have a revelation that will unlock a leadership key that has been dormant within you. Stay with me until the end, because this might be the answer you've been silently searching for. True leadership begins not with authority, but with awareness. You may be asking for commitment and performance, but have you checked the emotional weather around you? A team that feels unseen or unvalued cannot thrive, no matter how skilled. The waning gibbous moon in Cancer invites you to shift your lens. Leadership isn't just about goals, it's about the emotional ecosystem that holds them. When people feel safe, they show up fully. Many leaders demand results, but overlook the silent weight of stress, insecurity, or fear. A nurturing leader is not a soft one, they are a wise one. Cancer energy brings emotional intelligence to the forefront. It's time to protect the atmosphere as much as the strategy. A cold environment stifles growth, while a warm one encourages boldness and trust. The energy you emit shapes the energy you receive. This lunar phase is your invitation to pause and reflect. What kind of emotional safety are you creating? Are people walking on eggshells, or are they walking with you? Real engagement stems from connection, not command. When your team feels held, not just managed, loyalty blooms naturally. You don't need to control every move. You need to cultivate trust that inspires initiative. So before the next performance review or team meeting, ask yourself, how do others feel in your presence? Your energy doesn't just fill a room, it defines it. Cancer teaches us that to lead is to care. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. Because when hearts are nourished, minds collaborate. And that's when real innovation begins. Leadership isn't just about being in charge, it's about how people feel around you. Do they breathe easier in your presence, or tighten up with tension? The moon in Cancer reminds us that emotional intelligence isn't optional, it's essential. A disconnected leader creates silent stress that weakens collaboration. True influence comes from making people feel seen, safe, and supported. Respect is built through how you treat people, not just how you direct them. In a world obsessed with outcomes, it's easy to forget the power of care. But people don't give their best where they feel used. They give their best where they feel valued. Leadership rooted in empathy doesn't mean lowering standards. It means raising awareness. Cancer's wisdom calls you to notice the unspoken, the burnout behind the smile, the hesitation behind the nod. Presence is what turns a manager into a mentor. This is the time to ask deeper questions. Are you creating a space where others can grow, or just perform? Are you leading from your heart, or from fear of losing control? Emotional leadership is not weakness. It's resilience, trust, and the courage to be real. When you nurture the emotional core of your team, you don't just meet goals. You build something unshakable. Because connection outlasts performance. Let this lunar moment shift your paradigm. Leadership doesn't start with authority. It starts with atmosphere. And the atmosphere begins with you. If your team feels held, they'll rise. If they feel judged, they'll shrink. The Cancer moon is whispering, protect what matters. Nurture the hearts behind the results. That's how leaders create lasting impact, from the inside out. You might believe that leadership means having all the answers, but sometimes real power is in asking better questions. The old model of authority demanded obedience, but today's workspaces thrive when voices feel heard. The moon in Cancer invites a gentler kind of strength, the kind that listens. You don't lose control by being receptive. You gain loyalty by creating room for others to belong. Empathy isn't just a buzzword, it's a leadership strategy. People follow who they trust, and trust is built through consistent emotional presence. When you pause to hear someone's concern without rushing to fix it, you build a bridge. This lunar energy reminds you, strong leaders don't shout to be heard. They create silence to listen. Control forces performance. Connection inspires commitment. In this phase, your team doesn't just need direction, they need affirmation. They need to know they matter beyond their results. Are you checking in with how people feel, not just what they deliver? Cancer's influence says, care is your leadership currency. The more seen people feel, the more willing they are to go the extra mile. Respect is earned through relational depth. Let your leadership evolve from command to connection. Led like a guide, not a boss. You'll be surprised how much more your team offers when they feel emotionally secure. This isn't softness, it's strength with soul. Listening is your superpower now. With the moon's light waning, release the urge to control everything. Instead, nurture the space where others rise and watch your leadership transform. For years, leadership was associated with power, not presence. But the moon in Cancer is rewriting that script. Now, true leadership is rooted in connection, not control. People don't want to be managed, they want to be understood. This is the moment to shift from being a commander to being a caretaker of the team's emotional climate. When you care, people commit. Being a leader doesn't mean being perfect, it means being present. Your team doesn't expect you to know everything, but they do hope you'll listen when it counts. Emotional intelligence isn't optional anymore. It's the heart of any meaningful collaboration. Cancer teaches that nurturing is a form of strength, not softness. The more you make people feel safe, the more they thrive. It's time to leave behind the outdated mindset that empathy is weakness. Compassion doesn't reduce results, it amplifies them. A cohesive team isn't built by force, but by belonging. When your people feel supported, they bring more of themselves to the mission. Leadership is no longer a top-down dynamic. It's a shared space where everyone feels like they matter. This lunar phase is asking, what kind of leader are you becoming? Are you someone people fear or someone they trust? When you listen deeply, speak kindly, and lead with intention, you build more than just a team. You build a legacy. Let this Cancer moon guide you toward a leadership that nourishes. Because people don't just follow titles, they follow those who lead with heart. You say you want a team that's committed, but have you asked how they feel? Under the Cancer moon, emotions run deeper than logic. Your coworkers, employees, or collaborators are human, not machines. They need to feel safe to bring their full talents to the table. Leadership isn't just about giving orders, it's about creating space for honesty. The emotional climate you build directly affects performance. Too often, leaders focus only on outcomes and forget about atmosphere. A pressured environment may deliver short-term results, but it drains long-term creativity. Cancer energy reminds you, when you lead with care, you cultivate loyalty. A listening ear is more powerful than a raised voice. Real authority is earned through trust, not fear. Your presence sets the tone. Choose it wisely. Perhaps you've made mistakes before. You've overlooked emotional cues, failed to notice disconnection, or dismissed silent signals. That's okay. This lunar phase invites course correction. The waning moon encourages you to release old leadership patterns that no longer serve. Cancer's wisdom teaches that vulnerability doesn't make you less capable, it makes you more real. And people follow real. The workplace you desire, one that's cohesive, inspired, and united, starts with the way you show up. Do you model care or control? Do you invite participation or demand compliance? This is the moment to lead not just with your head, but with your heart. Emotional safety isn't just a nice bonus, it's a strategic advantage. Because in the end, people stay where they feel seen. You say you want an engaged team, but are you paying attention to unspoken emotions? Under the moon in Cancer, much of what matters lives beneath the surface. Not every concern is voiced directly. Sometimes it shows in body language, mood, or silence. If you're not attuned to those signals, you could miss signs of burnout or dissatisfaction. Leadership means being emotionally literate, not just goal-oriented. The best leaders notice what others overlook. Meetings, goals, and performance reviews matter, but so do pauses and quiet moments. Have you asked your team how they truly feel? Have you noticed the tension behind the smiles or the heaviness behind the silence? Emotional presence isn't about fixing everything, but about making space for what's real. Cancer energy brings a gentle reminder. Real collaboration grows in safe environments. And safety starts with your willingness to be present. You may believe it's not your role to manage emotions, but that belief limits connection. Leaders who ignore emotional undercurrents often experience disengaged teams and hidden conflicts. This lunar phase calls for deeper emotional integration into your leadership style. It's not about overprotecting, but about understanding. You don't have to become a therapist, just someone who values people's emotional truth. That awareness is a strength, not a liability. As this Cancer moon wanes, you are invited to reflect. What are you not seeing in your team's emotional reality? Where might empathy be the missing link to renewed motivation? Listening with care doesn't slow progress, it deepens commitment. When people feel understood, they give more freely. So lead with intention and let emotional insight become one of your greatest leadership assets. You may have made mistakes as a leader, closed yourself off, reacted harshly, or ignored emotional signals. But leadership is not about perfection, it's about growth. The waning gibbous moon in Cancer brings a chance to realign your approach. If you've been too rigid or disconnected, now is the time to soften and reconnect. This lunar energy supports emotional redemption, not just in words, but in new behaviors. The past doesn't define your leadership, your willingness to evolve does. Cancer's energy invites you to rebuild trust through consistent care. People remember how you made them feel far more than what you asked of them. Start by acknowledging past missteps without defensiveness. Then lead with humility and openness. Ask questions, listen fully, and create room for feedback. A team that feels emotionally safe becomes far more collaborative. Healing a team dynamic begins when a leader owns their part and adjusts with intention. You might fear that leading with heart will weaken your authority, but the opposite is true. Emotional intelligence strengthens credibility. It allows you to balance accountability with compassion, structure with understanding. In this phase, the moon highlights the power of presence over performance. When you show up with humanity, your team sees you as relatable, not just responsible. That shift deepens their respect and expands their loyalty. So reflect, what leadership model are you ready to leave behind? The one built on control, distance, and pride, or the one grounded in empathy, connection, and courage? This Cancer moon calls you to nurture the emotional ecosystem of your team. Rebuild the bridge. Open the door to dialogue. Leadership is not just about results, it's about relationships. And today, your heart is your strongest guide forward. The environment you want to lead in begins with the kind of leader you choose to be. Cancer's lunar energy reminds us that leadership is not just a title, it's an emotional climate you cultivate. Whether you're officially in charge or simply an influence within your group, your presence shapes the collective tone. This moon calls for gentleness, not passivity, care, not control. It's about leading with awareness of how your energy affects the whole. What kind of space are you creating for others to grow? Leadership rooted in fear may bring short-term results, but it rarely fosters lasting impact. When people feel threatened or unseen, they disengage. But when they feel safe, supported, and valued, they bloom. This is the leadership model Cancer asks you to embody, one of protection, connection, and emotional intelligence. You don't need to sacrifice clarity or standards to lead with empathy. Instead, empathy becomes the bridge to real commitment. As a leader, your energy is contagious. If you're anxious, your team absorbs that. If you're grounded, they mirror that too. Cancer teaches that presence is more powerful than pressure. The trust you build isn't just about hitting targets. It's about how people feel in your presence. Real influence comes not from force, but from resonance. Lead with your heart aligned to your vision, and others will naturally follow. Now is the time to embody the kind of leadership you once wished you had. Let this lunar cycle guide you toward deeper emotional maturity in how you lead and relate. Hold space. Offer clarity. Listen more. Show up not just as a strategist, but as a human being. The strongest teams don't just meet goals, they feel safe doing it. And that safety begins with you. You say you want an engaged team, but are you truly paying attention to what isn't being said? In the workplace, numbers, reports, and deadlines often take center stage. Yet under the influence of Cancer, this lunar moment reminds us that the emotional undercurrent matters just as much. Sometimes silence hides burnout, unspoken frustration, or disconnection. If you only manage the visible, you miss the root of the problem. True leadership means tuning in to the nonverbal language of your team. Every member of your team carries unspoken stories, stressors, and dreams. If you want long-term engagement, you have to create space where those truths can safely surface. Cancer energy isn't loud. It's nurturing, subtle, and profoundly intuitive. That's the leadership style this moment calls for, one that sees beyond performance metrics and listens with the heart. Are you offering presence or just pressure? When people feel heard, they contribute with more authenticity. The emotional landscape of your team can't be ignored if you want sustainable growth. This moon asks you to pause and reassess how you've been holding space for others. Are you reading between the lines or dismissing discomfort because it's inconvenient? Compassionate leadership doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means approaching them with care, patience, and the intention to heal rather than blame. The stronger the emotional foundation, the higher your team can rise. Now is your chance to shift your leadership from surface-level management to soulful connection. Cancer invites you to lead from the inside out, to see emotions not as distractions, but as indicators of what truly matters. The more you acknowledge the unseen, the more trust you build. In doing so, your workplace becomes not just productive, but meaningful. And that kind of environment inspires real loyalty, creativity, and purpose. You've made mistakes with people before. Maybe you've been too rigid, too distant, or too quick to shut down conflict. But this moment isn't about shame, it's about transformation. The waning gibbous moon in Cancer offers a powerful reset. Emotional maturity means learning from the past and showing up differently in the present. You don't need to pretend to be perfect. You just need to be willing to lead with humility, presence, and heart. Sensitive leadership doesn't mean weakness, it means depth. It takes courage to face discomfort, to ask how your actions impacted others, and to invite honest feedback. Cancer energy encourages you to nurture without controlling, to guide without suppressing. When your team feels safe emotionally, they begin to trust your vision. It's not about authority, it's about relationship. And that relationship can be healed and renewed, starting now. This lunar phase is ideal for reflection and course correction. What part of your leadership needs softening? Where have you been guarding your heart out of fear of seeming vulnerable? Cancer teaches us that real strength is found in emotional intelligence. You can choose to become the kind of leader who listens more deeply, apologizes when needed, and builds a culture of care. These are the qualities that create lasting impact and loyal teams. As the old model of top-down control dissolves, a new paradigm rises, one rooted in empathy and presence. You're being called to evolve. The people around you don't just need direction, they need connection. They want to know that their feelings matter, that they belong. This is your opportunity to lead in a way that nourishes, inspires, and heals. Because when you lead with heart, people don't just follow, they grow. Every work environment holds a collective energy, and as a leader, your heart shapes that field. The waning gibbous moon in Cancer reminds us, leadership isn't just about strategy, it's about emotional presence. When people feel seen, safe, and supported, they show up with more creativity and trust. But if your presence feels cold, controlling, or distant, the team's energy shrinks. Leadership begins where care begins. Your role is not only to guide, but also to protect the emotional climate of your workplace. Just as Cancer represents the home, it also governs how we hold space for others. People thrive in environments where respect and empathy are constant, not occasional. The emotional tone you set becomes the culture your team lives in. Even one kind word, one gesture of concern, can reignite someone's motivation. Cancer energy also calls you to ask deeper questions. Are people showing up because they're inspired or because they're afraid? Fear creates compliance, but emotional safety creates loyalty, innovation, and mutual growth. If you want to build something that lasts, invest in the relationships that hold your team together. Results matter, yes, but the emotional soil where those results grow matters more. As this lunar phase invites release, you're asked to let go of outdated models of leadership based on pressure and performance alone. Instead, embrace a new form of authority, one built on presence, patience, and emotional nourishment. People don't just follow ideas, they follow energy. When your leadership becomes a source of emotional support, your team naturally aligns. Because at the root of great leadership is care. True leadership is not about hierarchy, it's about emotional responsibility. The waning gibbous moon in Cancer calls for a shift from authority to empathy, from managing tasks to nurturing people. Your presence affects the energy of every room you enter. If your team feels emotionally abandoned, their performance will quietly suffer. But if they feel emotionally safe, they'll rise with you. This is the leadership of the new era. Some leaders think strength means detachment, but Cancer teaches the opposite. Real strength is being human. When you listen with presence, offer support without judgment, and recognize emotions before they erupt, you earn true respect. A calm tone during stress, a moment of vulnerability, or a willingness to check in. These are not small acts. They are the foundation of a thriving, connected team. This moon phase encourages you to reflect. Are you building fear or belonging? Loyalty isn't born from commands, it grows through care. Cancer invites you to create a space where your team feels they matter beyond their roles. When people are emotionally invested, collaboration flows and resilience deepens. Soften the edges. Be a source of grounding. Let your leadership be a place of emotional refuge. In times of transition or stress, leadership rooted in care becomes magnetic. People remember how you made them feel more than the tasks you assigned. That's the legacy Cancer urges you to build now, one where your leadership is felt, not forced. When your heart becomes part of your strategy, your team doesn't just follow orders, they follow vision with soul. Because in the end, all leadership is emotional.